Welcome to another mental clinic. I hope you've been well. I hope you're growing like I'm growing. My internal resources are expanding on a daily basis, and I'm excited. Um, I'm really shifting from the reactive mind to a responsible mind. I feel that reaction shows how unrooted and how uncentered we are. So that's why when we welcome you to a mental clinic, we want to make sure that you are living life fully. Reaction means that you are fragmented. And this fragmentation agitates your entire body. It doesn't give you a holistic ownership of your life. And what I found out that in our lives, we are outsourcing most of our lives externally rather than insourcing them. And I don't know where your friends are, the people who are mentally always fatigued, mental stress. We want to be able to bring few ideas and few perspective, call it higher perspective, call it reversal thinking, call it opposite thinking, however it is. I always say that it's good and beautiful for you to have an open mind. You may just need it. We want to bring healing to your mind. We want to bring sanity to your mind. We want to bring wellness and wholeness to your mind. We want to make sure that you are living life, not life living you. We want to ensure that you are doing life and not life doing you. And so that's why this corner on this mental state, we want to make sure that you are mentally stable. Your mind is your asset. Your mind is a tool. The mind is such a profound center that if you guide it, if you understand it, your inner resources, you can unleash such a beautiful life. We don't want you to continue to stay in that sameness. We want the agility of your mind, the flexibility of your mind to receive unusual ideas that free you and unlock you from the hijack of your mind. So welcome again, good evening, and I'm excited to share things that I practice on a daily basis. When was the last time that you had a full control of your mind and not the pressures of life, external demand, fees, relationship, finance, recognition, fame, attainment, target, preoccupy your mind? When was the last time you rested your mind? Like you own your mind, you put it at rest. I recall those days, there are times I said I'm shutting down. I want to psychologically shut down. I want to shut down everything. And I'll say, you know what? I need a mental recess, a mental break. And it was usually for me such a profound moment because I'm rejuvenated. I'm recalibrated, almost where there's emptiness. And today we're going to dive into the inner baseline. How people are not interested in inner work. We're more interested in visible thing, and unfortunately, we'll pursue temporary thing. The job is temporary. The position is temporary. The relationship is temporary. The loss is temporary. The disappointment is temporary. The boss that you think that is your source of toxicity is temporary. Your sibling that are putting pressure on you is temporary. Your parents that are putting pressure on you that you're not married is temporary. The world that is putting pressure on you to perform, to wear the mask is temporary, especially when you wear the mask for a long time. It put a whole lot of pressure. And I'm going to be talking about people who are wearing masks, because mask is not a state you are. It denies you your genuine self, your authentic self, that organic self, that inherent essence that brings the beauty and the pleasantness of your life. But of course, I also acknowledge that we are in a transition. We are ever evolving, maturing. So welcome to this segment again. Today we dive into the habit of the mind. The habit of the mind. I talk about habit in the sense of conscious habit, not unconscious habit, because we have two kinds of habits. We have the automatic response to life or reactive to mind, which is what I call unconscious habits. But what we want to talk about is the conscious, you are intentional, you are present with your decision. So it had become the mind habit. We're going to do a whole lot about mind imprint, how the integrity of your mind are compromised. The mind habit. But I'm going to lay a foundation. There are 3 stages of a man, or 4 stages. I'm going to break it down, and I want you to be careful, pay attention, you know where you are. And as we categorize it, that's how your mind stage are calibrated, or that's how they are perforated. And we all go through these 5 seasons, or 4. So number 1, mind structure. And don't forget, at this corner, one of the things we do is to challenge status quo. You cannot continue to see I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I'm depressed, I'm stressed out. Those are language that indicate a depleted inner resources. So that depletion is what eventually metamorphoses, or what comes out in terms of expression. When they say it, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. Your language is a description of your mental state. Your language, your consistent phrase, mirrors exactly your mind. And we say the quality of your mind will determine and influence the quality of your life. In fact, the quality of your mind shapes your future. Your quality of your mind will determine how enjoyable you're going to enjoy any relationship. The quality of your mind is what sustains whether you're going to love your job, but you're going to enjoy your work, or whether you're going to survive in your job. The quality of your mind will determine your relationship to events externally, circumstances. The quality of your mind will determine how you interpret the world. It's what forms your perspective. It's what governs your thinking patterns. It's what brings clarity to your belief system. It's what regulates your emotion. And of course, that's what will empower your character. So when somebody has a character flaw, go back to the inner resources, which is your mind, the state of your mind, the story in your mind, and how sensitive your mind is, would determine. If I want to talk about people pursuing goals, success, attainment, fame, is what survive it. It could be a depressed mind, it could be an empowered mind. And the sign of a depressed mind, yes, you can be doing a whole lot. You can achieve everything. You'll get your stars. And your mind has already been hijacked by the imprint of the past, by the map stamp of experiences, where experiences has dominated your mind, and it's no longer pleasant, it's no longer blessed, it's no longer sweet. So what we do here is to ensure that you are no longer going to be living by the old state of your mind, but an upgraded mind. So here you acquired an upgrade of your mind so that you can do well in life. So what we intend to do here really today is to ensure, is it possible how you're going to live life fully? Majority of us don't live life fully. What does it mean that fully? We always like life to be in a certain path, maybe in a pleasurable path, what we call pleasure in terms of physical pleasure. But what about your mental pleasure? Let me tell you, you cannot enjoy the pleasantness of life when your mental state is opposite. So how you live fully is how your mind, the depth of your mind, and the ability to adapt to several circumstances, whether it's a preference circumstance or unpreference circumstances. When you're hijacked by those varying circumstances, then it means that your mind lacks the depth, the strength, the mental resilience, the mental toughness, the mental richness with which to enforce your response and your definition of life. And that's why we need you to live fully. We also want you to live in harmony. So when you live fully, you live in harmonious state. When we talk about harmonious state, is where you live a full radical acceptance. Whatever life offers you, you're not going to fight life, but you are going to interpret life from this place of strength, from the solidity of your mind, from the how stately your mind is, how centered and how secured. So when your mind is not secured, you can't live harmoniously. Harmoniously where like headache will come. You acknowledge that there's headache, but you're not going to allow headache to define the state of your mind. Is it possible? That's why we train your mind to live fully, to live in harmony, and to live compassionately. Compassionately, where you become non-judgmental. When you judge, you live from the past. But we want to see that you have a pristine cognitive capability to deal with matters at the way they are, not the weight of the past. Because it's the weight of the past that have hijacked and reduced your mental strength to interpret from strength. But now, that weakness that exists in your mind is how you're going to see the world. And obviously, that's what they call the mind purpose. The mind should be able to interact from the sense of purpose, not from the sense of victimization. So the problem is when you say, I'm frustrated, I'm disappointed. When you say, oh, I'm angry. Yes, at some level, be angry. But don't allow anger to dictate the state of your mind. The moment you allow anger to rest on the tablet of your mind, the quality of your mind has been compromised by a negative imprint. And it reduces how effective your mind is to operate from strength. But now it begins to assign from the state of weakness. So we have a weak mind, we have a strong mind. And strong minds are connected onto the quality of the mind that operate from intuitive clarity, where that mind is functioning from wisdom, and wisdom becomes a law that governs the mind. And once your mind has law that governs the mind, it means that any external thing that comes up, the wisdom being the law will give you a direction. That's why it comes with the intuitive clarity. You're never confused. Of course, that gives you a deeper curiosity, which is really what we call mind intelligence, where you do not just accept things the way they are, but you need to have a deeper understanding how they are without judgment. So here we challenge you not to sit consistently with the same mental strength or mental state that you have been. Of course, to live holistically is to make provision for the paradox of life. What is meant paradox of life? The opposite of life. Because today you are in dark, tomorrow is light. Tomorrow here you are winning. Next tomorrow it looks like as if everything is going down. Or tomorrow there are people who are friends with you. The same people who are friends with you are also criticizing you or taking advantage of you. You need to be able to live a holistic idea of how this life is. It's never linear. It's never straightforward. Never. And so here, when we challenge you, please don't settle, don't plateau. It is important that you don't plateau. That's why I said renew your mind on a daily basis, dying to old self. And we set a new standard of the mind. The mind needs to work on standard, and upgraded standard. I upgrade my mind on a daily basis. I'm working on what I call the mind upgrade. And that mind upgrade is, how do I live compassionately? How do I see from a place of compassion rather than from a place of judgment? How do I become more merciful? So when I see events, the mercy that suspends judgment is how my mind is interpreting or relating with situation. How can I live from a place of forgiveness? Like where I have to forgive myself and forgive life itself, no matter what it throws to me. So this mental upgrade is what we call the mental standard, where it has to be calibrated consistently and re-engineered. And what it does that the external impact will be interpreted from that state of standard. And that's why I say when the enemy comes like a flood, the Spirit of God will raise a standard. So if you don't have a standard, you become the problem. If you are equal to your problem overwhelms you. That means you've identified with your problem. But we want you to have your mind to be on the hill where it interprets problem from a strength of solution, not from a state of incapacitation. Of course, we invite you to higher living. So what we do here is to bring you to higher state. Now, let's look about the 3 stages of the mind, how it functions. The first stage is what I call the survival mode. In survival mode is like you have been enslaved from where you think that your life depends on outside. That the richness of your life is as a function of your attainment, your goal, your recognition. So you prove, you argue, you are always in that constant agitation. And now, as survival mode, there are no standard of the mind. You have not even identified what they call the mind baseline. The baselines are the substructure with which your mind is. It's like the constitution of your mind. That's what the baseline means. You depend on your parent. That's okay at some point. But you don't recognize that even in your parents' place, that there is an inherent gift that you have, that you can be dependent on you, and that wholeness of you is how you see your parents. But here you think that everything that you require in this life, your parents will provide it. And once that dependency is created, is what creates a survival mode. Because you have to depend on caregivers, you have to depend on your boss. If your boss comes in and you look at his face, he is sad, you're sad. You don't have an emotional barrier, you don't have emotional regulator that tell you that is the story in his mind. So you now tap the story of your boss. Oh, you are ill. Illness will now give you have to struggle. It's associated with a place of struggle. In fact, what give you mental survival state is insufficiency. You don't believe that you are sufficient enough. You don't believe you are incapacitated. You are so devalued. There's no value of the mind. There's no self-confidence. As a result, it's working on assumptions. In fact, it's what they call the observer's effect. Observer's effect, where you get input from outside. Oh, it's a conditional living. If it rains, your mood changes. You get into the bus stop. There's no bus. Your mood changes. So it means that your mind is operating from outside in, not inside out. It really starts from parenting. That's why it's good. Even in parenting, you should be able to train your children where you give them that they have self-worth, that self-recognition, self-acceptance, that there is value in them. So don't always provide for them. While you're providing for them, ask them to have an input, because life is in, out, not out, in. And once you start living from out, in, you get into survival mode. You have to lie. That's the main reason why you have to lie to be accepted. You have to pretend. You have to wear a mask. You have to devalue yourself to ask for help. You have to get an emotional blackmail on people. You have to depend on your spouse for your joy. You have to look at the facial of your parents to know whether they're in a certain place. No, that's a survival mode. And that survival mode, it's a state where you are not in your authentic self. It stifles your creativity. It muffles you completely. Because now, you don't have working truth, your mind working truth that helps you to know that you can't live from that state. So the first stage of your mind is the survival state. Oh, Patrick, is it possible? Yes. What do we need to do? We'll talk about what they call stabilizing stage. This is a place of stability, where there's stability. When we talk about mind stability, when you begin to recognize this life is your responsibility. Nobody owns this life. You own it. You're not going to outsource it. It is when now you begin to identify with your inner resources. You sit down with yourself, you have a meeting with yourself, and you know that this reaction is as a result of survival. This fear is as a result of survival. Or this constant stressful mode is as a result of survival. So you have to go extra mile. You have to argue. You have to prove your worth. No. Every time you're proving in your job, survival. Every time you have to argue, survival. You please men, survival. To be accepted, survival. But when you start shifting, it's a place of recognition. What's that recognition? I'm better than survival. What can give me stability? That question will now give you insight. And that's why the good book said, those who are sure of themselves do not speak all the time. Men who are calm have real insight. That's where you begin to recognize, but I have something to offer. And this is what really changed me, because I was also in that survival mode. But I mean, every time I'm disappointed, I feel like a worm, a victim. You're finished. Every time you make a proposal and the proposal is rejected, every time you ask somebody out and they mess up your mind, majority of the time is the survival mode that makes us feel like we are warm to be accepted. Not because we want to be proud, but if I'm going to seek for a job, it's because I have the mind that is knowledgeable, that is skillful, that I have full attention, wisdom and concentration, has creative capability, have a thinking source, have good character, has at least listening ears, have a malleable spirit, trainable. Now, those are your time of stability. You're recognizing your self-acceptance. There's something good about me. You know, I wake up every morning and say I'm a good man. It changed the dimension of my life. I said I'm a good man. And I started listing out the quality of a good man. Because see, once you identify with yourself and you are able to reaffirm yourself, you begin to create and design yourself. So this self-definition, this self-design, this self-creation, you are God, the sons of the Most High. Now you are now designing yourself. You say, you know what? I'm a good guy. I'm a faithful guy. I'm an honorable guy. I'm a creative guy. Now, this is the calibration of your self-design and self-definition. This self-definition will change how you interpret the world. So when I go to people, I'm going in the strength that I have something to offer, that I'm an advantage, even though I might seemingly look like in a disadvantage. But now that self-recognition, in humility, acknowledging my dependency and then the richness of interconnectedness, you're not knowing that there's something within the loop. In fact, that the loop is not complete without you. The eight is not complete without you as long as you're alive. You are part of the ecosystem. And the richness of the universe cannot leave you. Of course, if you go into new dimension, you recognize that you are a child of God. And that whatever is born of God overcometh the world. And this is our victory, even our faith in Christ Jesus. So this self-stabilization is a self-awakening, where you are awakening from a survivor state thinking to a stable state thinking. Now this is a way you have living from a place of contribution. You are aware that you can contribute. You are aware that you have your gift. That's why I said the gift of a man. Make room for him. You know that you're a man of purpose. So this is how I change the dynamics. As I say, like I dwell in goodness. I live in plenty. I'm a riser. I'm a builder. I'm an unlocker. I'm a learner. I'm a leader. I'm an optimist. I'm an engager. Now this self-definition changes the dynamics. Now you find a root that is now stable, recognizing that I am this. I'm not a failure. In fact, I started telling myself, I'm distant from failure. I move ahead to say, I am above hurt. I started saying, my interior resources is so peaceful that I cannot outsource it. So that is awakening state. That is self-definition. That's self-realization. And that's self-acceptance. So that's where the beauty comes in. And you know, like, that same stability is the place of your anchor. That's your self-anchoring. You're anchoring, you are stable, you're unshakable. Now, whether you eat or you don't eat, whether you dress or you don't dress, whether you have a job or you don't have a job, survival mode will make you act out of character. In fact, in survival mode, you do not have yes or no. It is is people pleasing, is life pleasing. But once you move out of the survival and move into the stability thinking, you know that you can survive anywhere. Not survive, sir. You bring stability to life. So what it means that no matter where it is, no matter the wing, you bring stability to the wing. Because the wing is an imagination. It is an imagination. It's not reality, because the reality is defined by your mind. So when you move out of survival and move into stability, this is where sustainability comes in. How do you now sustain it? You require adversity to sustain it. You require opposition to sustain it. You require disappointment to sustain it. Because at that state of sustainability, you cannot continue to stay in that state. It's also going to stifle you. And still of people are in that state. Oh, that's a confession state, affirmation state. You know, when talk about a lot of affirmation without utility. There's a difference between the affirmation now and the personality that you become, because there's no alignment in terms of practicality, in terms of engagement, in terms of embodiment. And that's why, yes, they might tell you, oh, confession. Confession is a realm. Belief is a realm. But it's a realm of knowing. That knowing is a place of certainty, where you operate from a certainty. So you lose your job, you know that I can recreate the job. Before the job, you have existed. So the job is temporary. Or you lost a marriage. You can go back and not blame the partner or speak against the partner, but you have yourself in high esteem. And now you can really position yourself. Why? At that point, you need adversity. You know how? I prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. Because now your enemies will bring you what they call sustainability. And that's why if you get to production lines, when a car has survived and moved into stability, what they do, they take it to a place of sustainability. And one of the things that sustain is when they put it into adverse situation. And that's why you cannot fickle, you cannot fade. You know why? Because now your source of stability has been established. It requires a lot of toughness to be able to sustain it. You need tension, something to tension you. And that tension means that you are stressed. So most of the things that you define as stress are actually component of sustainability. They got to be under pressure. In the world you have tribulation. But be of a good cheer. I have overcome the world. Man born of a woman, few days, full of trouble. But my own is different. Why? Because my sustainability is what gives me the audacity, the mental strength, the mental resilience, the mental clarity, the mental sufficiency, to push beyond. And it's good to bring this clarity so that you know where you are. What do you do when your dad passed on? When the person that you love so much passed on? I recall when my elder brother passed on, and I was in a stability stage. I haven't gone into stability, but just that impact, because he was my cover, he was my go-to person. He was the one who does the traditional thing. He was the one who carries the family. He is close to everybody. I'm the isolated one. Now I have to take in that position. And now why? At that moment, I know I have to sustain the legacy. I know I have to open up. It has to open me up from that isolated self to a place where you are now open. Oh, I have lost jobs. But the moment I lost the job, I knew that there was a bigger plan. And I mean, I've been in terrible situations, what people call terrible situations, but I really love them because they are my allies. They went deep to bring out the potential, unlock it and unpack it. Why? That's what they call the sustainable thinkers. And you see, in this thinking, in this mind state, if you are not aware of them, you can be trapped by them. Survival state is a victim state where you blame the government, you blame everybody, and every time you blame, you have eroded your strength of your character. Every time you complain, your inner world has been depleted from its strength and ruggedness. Every time you find fault, you have neglected your responsibility. And apparently that's what survival state states. And that's why they can break your heart. When somebody breaks your heart, you are in a survival state. That's actually why they can break your heart. But when you get into stability, of course, there's a solid state. This is a place of security. This is a place of strength. It's difficult for you to get into that place because you have solid laws that govern your relationship with people. I didn't even know some of these. But I'm grateful that through this experience, they exposed me to these mental structures and mental stages. And so the reason why you are suffering externally is because you do not understand these classes of the mental state, the survival state, the stable state, and the sustainable state. And what it does is it gives you the final one. It's called the extended heart, extended mind. Extended mind is where it's a beautiful place where it's a projection of your inner resources. Like maybe you lost a friend and they say they won't talk to you again. Now you're extending compassion. If you are in a state of gratitude because you know that is an end to a relationship and there's an emerging new relationship. So now you are extending, it allows you to extend your capacity. It allows you to extend your capacity. It allows you to extend your capacity. You see, extension is so powerful. And this is where the point is. At survival mode, you don't have mind character that can stabilize you. But at stability, you have mind character, you have mind values. Now they are what enriches your mental state, your emotion. Is what enriches your character and decisions. But now, in sustainability, like there are already layers of values that governs your mind. Now, extension means that no longer is life giving you sadness. You are extending the interior resources external. And that's why I say count it all but joy. So people cannot count it all but joy because they are not structured internally. There's no excess of joy in their interior self, in their mind. And so there's no extension. Because your external life is a function of internal self. So what does it mean? Extension means if you're extending anger, it's because your mind is already polluted. That's why I say, I've not given you the spirit of fear, but of the spirit of a sound mind. Now, when your mind is sound because it has moved from survival into stability, into sustainability, it begins to project the inward to external. The riches of your life, how organized your mind is, will now be extended into your car, into your relationship. Now you're not looking at that relationship to extend to you. That's why you see when people said, oh, my boss is toxic, oh, this place is a very toxic environment. No, that environment is offering you. What are you extending to? Oh, this relationship is killing me. Go, you are still on that survival. You don't have nothing to offer to that. That is why sickness cannot overwhelm you. It doesn't matter when you stayed in as extended. That's why, because now your mind is already in a stable state. Because you know why? He sent for his word, and his word healed me. So you are not seeking to be healed. You are in the embodiment of healing. And so you're extending your mental strength to that sickness. You know, so one day I went to use the restroom, and it was really dark. And I came back. As I was coming back, I hit my toe. I had two options. To allow the pain, I accepted the pain, but I said no. Well, how can I extend this pain with what was inside of me? Because at that point I was at peace. Now I extended the peace to the pain. Did it cease? Maybe not. My relationship with the pain changes. If your relationship with pain experiences has not changed, that is why you are being extended to, you are not extending to. What do I mean? Let me read something that changed this whole thing. In Psalm 112, the title says the happiness of a good person. The happiness of a good person. It says, praise the Lord. Happy is the person who honors the Lord, who take pleasure in obeying his command. So now, when we talk about stabilization, they are governing laws. That's why I talk about wisdom as a law, as a direction, as a destiny. So wisdom, when he says wisdom is a principal thing, what it means that your mind has been stabilized in a certain law of life. You're governed by law of life and the principle of life. So that is what gives you stability. So because why? He takes pleasure in obeying command. Every time you obey a fundamental truth, then the momentum of your mind is increases. It depletes the devaluation of mind. A good mind, children, will be powerful in the land. His descendants will be blessed. His family will be wealthy and rich, and he will be prosperous forever. Now look at what it says. Light shine in darkness for a good person. What it means that light shine is that you recognize that you are light. Now you extend your light to circumstance. Oh my God, this is the point. So it means that if you get to your office and you have your colleague who is speaking up, you don't look at him as an enemy, because once you label him as an enemy, you are allowing his enmity, if there's anything like that, to extend to you. Start behaving like you are under course. No. Now, extension, self-extension. This is self-extension means that you are moved from survivor, you are stabilized, you are a sustainer. You're sustaining your life. Now, you are now self-extension. That self-extension means that what is the content of your mind is what you extend externally. So now, light shines in darkness for a good person, for those who are merciful, for kind and just. Happy is the man who is generous with his loan. So you begin to loan them from the resources, inner strength, inner capacity. That's what you now, self-extension means that now when you get to your room and something is happening, yes, you acknowledge it. You will not allow that situation to impact you. But you know what? You extend your inner resources, inner currency to it, inner sufficiency. That's really how the shift comes in. So you talk about survival, stability, sustainability, and self-extension. And this self-extension, that is the power. So that means that you are recognizing that the kingdom is within you, and the kingdom is a kingdom of light. It's a kingdom of power. It's a kingdom of love. It's a kingdom of kindness. It's a kingdom of consideration. And it's a kingdom of humility. And it's a kingdom of reverence and honor. So when you get to people where they devalue people, because you are stabilized in honor and you are a sustainer of honor, the next thing is self-extension. You don't recognize their dishonor. You extend the honor to them. Or you go to where people are unkind because they are on a survival pattern. That's what formed their thinking pattern. As a man thinketh, so he is. So now you have moved to a place of stability because now you know your value. You know your self-law. You know your constitution. And that constitution is now sustaining you. And now you are more positive person, optimistic person, enthusiastic person. Now there's a enrichment inside of you because you are now a good person. And now you dwell in goodness. You dwell in plenty of mercies, plenty of compassion, plenty of empathy, plenty of consideration, plenty of sweetness. Now they are inside of you. There's fullness of this bliss. So when situation come to you, you're not going to define it over there. You're going to have that self-extension to it. And that's why I said when I go to the room, I behave what it means. I self-extend my character, my value to them. That's why I say your character, your value must not upset you. For the people who are OCD, maybe you're doing something and you like order, or maybe you like honor, and you go to where you are rejected. No, what it means is calling for your self-extension. What is your self-extension? And this is where we got it all completely wrong. What are you extending? And that's what is the root of it. Is more blessed to give than to receive. Let me give you a time. There were 10 ladies who were wise. They termed them to be wise people. But 5 were extenders. They were extenders. The other wise, why they were wise, they moved from the place of survival to a place of stability. At least they have self-control. They know what to say, yes or no. But there was something about they also be able to come to a place of sustainability, because they have mental strength to wait. Now, but there was something remarkable about the 5 wise. They were extenders. Why? They are sustainers. They bring their self-extension. Now they were being enriched. They have their capacity. They understand their kindness, their generosity. They understand that a liberal heart is made fat. They understand their generous spirit. They understand that they are kind. They understand their capacity. The gift of a man makes room for him. So that's what they call self-extension. Where you don't allow situation to dictate you. But now, because of the recognition and realization of who you are internally, now there's an over there. Forgive me if I use myself. No matter how unkind people are, I will never recognize the unkindness. Because my self-extension of my kindness is so, how do I say, it's massive. That whether you are kind to me or not kind to me, I mean, life, there was a time I thought life was unkind to me, but man, I started shifting that I was kind to life. I treat life well. You cannot tell me that you are clean and you are stabilized in cleanliness, and then you get into an office because the cleaner did not clean it. You're upset. What happened is that life has offered you extension. I really don't care if you work out of me, because I'm a life extender and you're also extending to me. If you depart, it's okay. Not in pride. It's a recognition that I'm extending. You are only a worm and a victim because you are in a state of survival. You must recognize that you have a what? This is what it said. A good person will never fall. A good person will never fall. Why? the extenders. He will always be remembered. And that's what they call fearless duty, fearless impact, and fearless purpose. Meaning, anywhere you are going, what you should be preoccupied is what you're offering, what you're contributing to the table. That's what they call self-extension. But once you're always in a receiving place, you lose a job. Oh my God. You can't recreate yourself. And then I learned that from the Lord Jesus Christ. He said, break this temple in 3 days. I'll rebuild it. That it means. And I learned that from a guy called Gideon. Gideon. Gideon was such a probably nobody. But yet, he understands his resources. He understands his leadership capacity. He understands his governance priorities. He understands that he has moved from survival. Now he has to offer himself when there was no leadership. That's why when you go to church, for instance, you don't need the visibility of anybody to activate your sufficiency. You carry that self-sufficiency. Because we have not recognized this self-sufficiency. That's why we're in a survival mode. It shows in how you show up. I don't need my boss. I give instance, right? I had this job, and my boss, they were not, time has passed. I will summarize it. Few mental habits. But let me finish the story. I didn't have, I wasn't the owner of the organization, but I took responsibility of the organization. There was a time they owed us for like 6 months. You know what? I realized that I am the leader in that place. I took ownership. I went to close my account and I pay off the 6 month salary. What does that mean? It's what they call self-extension, because you are not operating from a place of abundance. Because that's what stability does. You are not tapping from a place of scarcity, from a place of lack, from desperation and urgency, to a place where you are rooted. And let me give you 7 things that will give you access to self-extension. Moving you out from survival to stability, to a place of sustainability, and now to self-extension. Number 1 is steadiness. What does steadiness do? It provides you emotional foundation. You are more patient. You are calm. You are forgiving. You are grounded. That's what steadiness means. You're steady in the truth. What is your working truth? My working truth is that a good person will never fail. Never fail. My truth is that I am an advantage to anybody. My truth is that everybody that comes around me is a blessing to me. Everybody that comes around me is a blessing. That's my working truth. Though I don't see them as enemy, I see them as a blessing. And so when I give, I meet people, maybe we have just met today, and I'm giving them gift. They think that I'm a philanthropist. No, it's what they call self-extension. Why? I have been steadied in a state of kindness. That's what they call mind habit. So begin to stabilize on one core gift that you have. It could be humility. It could be forgiveness. It could just be anything. It stabilizes you. Stay on it. That's stability. Now, the second what it does is wisdom. Let the gifts, let that recognition become the wisdom of your life. I know that I dwell in goodness. I know that I'm kind. Unconditional kindness. And the people think that, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing with his money. No. That's self-extension. Why? That's the wisdom that governs my relationship. That kindness means that when I meet adversity, I'm going to be kind to adversity. I'm not those ones that reject, oh, God forbid. No. Adversity, I acknowledge that you are here. Setback, I know that you are here. Oh, rejection, I know that you are here. Oh, denier, I know that you are here. I will acknowledge you for what you are, but me, the wisdom of my stability will come to place. Of course, what it does is an openness. It means that you are integrating what we call knowledge and intuition. Knowing that when you are open, you become flexible. That's what they call a mental curiosity. You are open to whatever comes. I literally do not going to say that life is linear, that it's going to be all bed of roses. No. Because not everybody you like will like you back. Not everybody that you honor that will honor you back. Because you are not in the same frequency. So number one is steadiness, the steadiness of your mind. The steadiness of your mind is important. The wisdom of your mind. What is the wisdom? Ability to use what stabilizes you as a wisdom, which is as a law. Now, what it does, you are open. And in that openness, you begin to live what they call wholeness. What is wholeness? There are times you'll sleep, you'll come back. There's a time you're rejected, you'll come back. You cannot have preference. Everything is your preference. Until everything becomes your preference, then you are living in what they call segmented life. So wholeness, mind wholeness. And now, what mind wholeness will give you is what they call mind courage. Mind courage is the ability, the sense to face contradiction with bravery and integrity. What is integrity? Going back to your stability. Now you're extending life. Life cannot extend you because you recognize that you are part and parcel of this universe. And there's a gift that is inherent to you. Of course, mind courage will lead you to what they call lightness. I've been talking about lightness. Lightness is ability to cast down the burden, let go of burden. Of course, a warmth mind. Practice warm mind. Practice dancing over adversity. Practice to be, the ability to be disliked. Ability to engage disorder and extend the beauty and the pleasantness of your mind. Is a beautiful place. I don't know where you are, the stage you are. Are you in the survival stage? Don't stay there. Come up hither, that I might show you what is to come. It's a place of steadiness. In this steadiness will give you a place of sustainability. You're sustaining your life. The interior state is so rugged. Of course, you begin to recognize there's beauty around your mind, and that's where you begin to have your self-extension. And that's why it said it's more blessed to give than to receive. You have received so much from life, and that's why there's stress in your mind, and that's why you're under attack, your mental attack. Because why? You're looking for life to offer you. It's time to change that standard and begin to have your self-extension, because the gift of a man makes room for him. Thank you so much. See you next time.